Mode.
Hello everybody and welcome to my last Grow Your Law Firm webinar for 2013. Before we get started, I'd just like to wish you all a safe and happy Christmas and New Year, and hope you all are taking some time out to recharge the batteries before you come back and get into next year. So today's Grow Your Law Firm webinar is on marketing for law firms, and by the record number of registrations that I've had for this particular webinar from around the country, it seems to me to be a very hot topic. So that could be for one of two reasons. One is that people want to know about it, and two, that my marketing engine that I run in my firm is working. And what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be sharing that with you so that you can get a clear understanding from a legal firm's perspective, and indeed for any professional services firm, what the what the proactive marketing strategies need to be within your firm that are of a low cost nature but of a high output result. So just to get the ball rolling, as I usually do with most of my webinars, I just want to get a bit of a feel for who's joining us today. So if you could just make a note there of which of those three options best suits you and the firm that you work in. So we'll just give it another few seconds. So it looks like we've got a fairly broad mix of participants today. So about a third are in sole practitioner firms, with almost half in a 1 to 3 principal firm, with around 20% being in 3 plus principal firms. In terms of you individually, if you could just give me a little bit of an idea of your role within your practice, just so I can make sure that I tailor the content of today's webinar to the majority of the attendees here today. So just another couple of seconds again on that one. Thank you very much. So we've got about 57% are principals, about a quarter being solicitors who are non-principals, and 18% are CEO and practice managers. So once again, thank you very much for your attendance today. And lastly, before we get into it, just to give me a bit of a feel for whether or not you've attended a Grow Your Law Firm webinar before, because some of the things that I refer to in this webinar relate to previous webinars that we've had. So yeah, just another couple of seconds on that. So thank you very much. Very good. We've got 59% new webinar participants today. So welcome, and thank you very much for participating in my free Grow Your Law Firm webinars, and for the 41% of you who are returning again. Look, thank you very much for your continued support. I'm hoping that you continue to receive value out of these free webinars that I put on every month. For those of you who haven't attended before, all of my webinars for the last couple of years can be found at financiallywellorganised.com. So just go into the Your Latest tab and click on webinars, and you'll be able to find our previous webinars. So time to get into it. So what we're covering off today is a part of business planning for any firm, and it's really designed to be focusing on what you need to be doing within your firm to drive inquiries. What you see on the screen right there is our approach from working with clients as accountants to help them be financially well organised, and a key component of that for any client is that of ensuring that they're generating the levels of profitability and cash flow out of their firms. Just another little quick quick bit of advertising. My book, The Revenue Revolution for Law Firms, is now available on financiallywellorganised.com. So anything that we go through today in terms of marketing, there's a whole chapter in that book that goes into this in a whole lot more detail. So if you're wanting to delve into a bit more depth, you can go online and buy that either via an ebook or a hard copy. We'll get to you. So looking at your practice, there really are two types of revenue focuses that you have in your practice. First one is around winning the work. And these areas of your practice are often left unattended. So those winning the work strategies need to be focused on what your product is, being what you sell, your marketing activities in your firm, so how you communicate your message out there to your clients and prospective clients, so that you are increasing the inquiry rate, so that you can generate sales or sign clients up on a cost agreement, and then you get on and do the work. And with the do the work part of your practice, that's around how you actually produce those outcomes for your clients, and then how you manage those relationships. What happens in most firms, there's a big focus on the doing the work part of their practice. So they generate their revenue via completing matters, by charging hours, and then in a rather ad hoc way manage those relationships to ensure those clients keep coming back. Or if they're a firm that is like a specialist firm, say a family law firm, their client relationship management post doing the work usually I see is relatively non-existent. So even though happy clients generally for those type of firms refer more clients that are in need. So what we're going to be focusing on today is marketing. And we're going to be focusing on the key component of marketing as part of the winning the work formula in your firm. So just in terms of your marketing plan, how would you rate it within your firm? Just say that it's an excellent strategy that you've got. So you're absolutely nailing it. There's hardly anything that you can do to improve it. It's producing consistent, great inquiry rates and revenue for your firm. Or do you do it on an ad hoc basis, bits and pieces every now and then? You just do it when you've got a bit of time. Or what I generally see in firms when it comes to marketing is that they do it when the revenue slows up a little bit, trying to generate more. And then if you really don't do anything at all. So just a couple more seconds on that. And thanks for that. So just as I've suspected, and what I see is that there's a small number of firms there that really do a great job on marketing. They really understand the basis of what marketing is and the role that it plays within a firm. But what happens with most firms around their winning the work strategies is generally an ad hoc thing. They might run a seminar every now and then, or send out a newsletter, or make a few calls to their referral network. But it really is just on an ad hoc basis. And there's still, and there always will be, the element of firms that just don't really do anything. So look, thank you very much for your feedback there. And as usual, when I'm talking with firms, the majority of the participants are in that 76% category there. You're very normal, and hopefully today you'll be able to take away a few gems to be able to go and implement in your practice and have a much better understanding around what marketing is in the context of a legal firm. So what is it? So just going back there to our revenue strategy, if we're looking at where marketing fits, it fits between our product and our sales. So product is what we sell. So it's what our clients buy from us. Quite an intangible solution that legal firms sell to clients. Sales are what we do to sign that client up so that we can then actually start doing the work. And where marketing sits is in between those two. So marketing is like the conduit for communicating your product to your clients and your prospective clients so that they produce a predictable revenue outcome. What I see in most firms is this: I see that marketing doesn't work, and often the reason that marketing activities are non-existent or ad hoc, which is evident in our results there, 94% were non-existent or ad hoc, is because of this. Marketing in firms is generally unstructured. So there's no formal structure that's built in around implementation of specific marketing activities. I think that's often because principals of firms don't really understand what marketing is and the role it plays. You know, as lawyers, you are taught to excel at the law, but in terms of business, you're not taught to implement those strategies that drive winning the work. The marketing activities in firms are not targeted. So they are not focused on specific target markets. They're not focused on specific people or groups of people or businesses. They generally are quite generic and just sort of thrown out there and see who takes the bait to make an inquiry. So there's no specific focused target activities that are driven, and they're ad hoc. So as I mentioned before, they just happen on an ad hoc basis every now and then when there's a bit of time. And generally, where marketing is thought about when the principals have got a little bit of time on their hands because their workload may have reduced a little bit. So marketing by its very nature is misunderstood. Most people look to marketing as it's a bit of a black hole. It's this thing we pump some money into but never really seem to get any traction with or output on. So the key of today's webinar is to show you how to structure your marketing, is to show you how to get it targeted so that it's consistent and you understand the role it plays. As I said before, the role that it plays is just that conduit. It's that pipeline, it's that process of ensuring that what your products are, what it is that you're selling to your clients and prospective clients becomes so clear to them that it provides you with a consistent inquiry rate that's focused on driving specific outcomes in your revenue strategy. So we're going to delve into that in a fair bit more detail. So marketing is just a system, and I think people struggle with this. It's a process. It's just like any other system that you've got in your business. It's like time costing. You need your fee earners to enter their timesheet so that it ends up in work in progress, so that you can raise a bill. It's just like debtors collections. It's a process where you make sure that there is money in trust. That when you've got scheduled billing programs for when your matter is billed, and then it gets paid. And if it isn't paid, then those clients are followed up. It's like how you pay your bills in your firm, how you pay your wages. There's set processes. How your legal work is done. So how you do a conveyance, how you run a family law matter, how you run a PI file, how you do a buy-sell agreement, how you run a trademark application. So your legal work is run via systems to reduce the risk. How your IT is managed, it's got systems that you implement. And the reason that you systemize activities in your business is so that you minimize the risk of a negative outcome. So just like marketing, if you don't have structured, systemized marketing systems in your business, you run the risk of not generating the revenue that you need to at the right time in your business. You're totally reliant on clients contacting you to to generate that revenue that you need to make to cover the costs of all of your labour and other overheads to produce your profit and cash flow. Now, for those of you who've participated in my webinars before, or I also see we've got a few participants today who have purchased my book over the last month since it's been launched. You'll see in there that I come back to this concept continually, and it's the Serenity Prayer. It's the most, in my experience, the most powerful business planning statement that I've ever heard. And what it is, it talks about control. It says, give me the serenity to accept what I cannot control, the courage to change what I can control, and the wisdom to know the difference. So the way that most people do marketing, most firms do marketing, they focus on marketing activities that they cannot control the outcomes. What real marketing is developing and implementing systems and processes in your business around actions and activities that you can control. And the more you do it, the more systemized it is. You are then able to actually start predicting the amount of new revenue that starts walking through the door. In my last webinar last month, I looked at the three different types of revenue that's generated in a legal firm, being recurring revenue, reactive revenue, and proactive revenue. Reactive revenue being recurring revenue being revenue from like retainers. Reactive revenue is just the revenue that comes in the door that's client initiated. Where proactive revenue are the strategies around product marketing and sales, where you implement specific actions that you design and develop and grow over time that are specifically designed to produce revenue outcomes, that you can control the amount of those activities that you implement. So if we take this to another level, what you're focusing on with marketing is you are focusing on those specific actions and strategies that you can control within your practice that produce predictable outcomes. So there are two types of marketing activities. Those marketing activities are brand awareness and direct response. And most firms, I find, implement brand awareness strategies. Brand awareness strategies are those strategies that you just put it out there and hopefully create some inquiry. They're strategies that have got no specific direct access to your target market. So some examples of brand awareness are things like generic newsletters that you just put on your website. Your website is generally, for most firms, a brand awareness strategy. You have a website because they say you've got to have one, but really it's just a form of a digital brochure. It doesn't actually do anything. It doesn't actually create anything. Someone can go and Google your name and get directed to a website, and they can have a bit of a read about you. Most advertising that's done is brand awareness. Brand awareness from advertising is probably the most expensive and activity that you can implement from a marketing perspective, and in most cases produces the lowest return on investment. Public speaking as well. So you can do public speaking so that you can at least talk to your audience who may have an interest, but you don't specifically produce revenue from it. Getting articles published, doing videos online, writing blogs, all of those things are brand awareness. When it comes to tailoring controllable marketing activities, what you need to be focusing on is direct response marketing. And what direct response marketing is marketing where you know exactly who is receiving your information. You know exactly who you are targeting. You know exactly what the message is that those prospective clients and existing clients are receiving. You know exactly what your inquiry rate is. You know exactly who's read and who's received it and who's doing what with it. So direct response marketing is the most powerful marketing tool that you can implement within your, or most powerful marketing strategy that you can implement in your firm, but most firms don't do it. So just simple things with direct response marketing are clients' needs checklists. So a simple marketing activity when you have a meeting with a client, here's a checklist of things we can go through. How you run a client meeting to extract an opportunity from a client. Running seminars that are tailored specifically to your clients or specifically to your prospective clients. Running webinars like this. This is a direct response. People can register for this webinar online, but nearly every person that registers for my webinars have been invited by me to participate. You can run workshops, you can run direct mail. There's a whole range of direct response marketing. So remembering, direct response marketing is where you focus your marketing activities on a specific list of targets that you can measure the output of that marketing activity. Different to brand awareness. Brand awareness is where you put it out there. So brand awareness in your firm really is, I suppose you define it as everything that you do from a marketing perspective that doesn't fall into the direct response marketing category. So on that basis of understanding now what direct response marketing is and brand awareness is, just if I can get a little bit of an insight into the type of marketing that the firms and the people that are participating today do. So, is there a good mix of brand awareness and direct response? Don't do any marketing, it's mainly just brand awareness, or do we just do direct response only? What I see in firms is that they usually do a little bit of direct response, so there'll be some direct client inquiry or prospect inquiry activities that they implement, but most of what they do is brand awareness. So I'll just close that poll off and show you which pretty much is the case here again. A small percentage not really doing any marketing. A third of the participants today doing brand awareness only, with 50% brand awareness and direct response. And I think if I extended that question a little bit further, I think we'd find that if we had to do a weighting of that 50% between brand awareness and direct response, there would be minimal amount of structured direct response marketing activities within that group. So look, thank you very much for participating in that poll. So what we're going to do now is get into a little bit more detail. So that's basically the theory. You've got two sorts of marketing. You've got the expensive brand awareness, which is about putting ads in papers and putting ads online and television, or just creating a sensational digital brochure being your website. All these expensive methods of marketing that you can't control the outcome. What we're going to be focusing here on now today is what your direct response marketing activities need to be within your practice. So marketing's a tap. Marketing's a tap that you should turn on and you never turn it off. Marketing's a tap that you can turn down if you are getting too much activity out of it, but you never turn it off, because marketing by itself has got a lead time, and the minute you turn it off, you've got to reignite that lead time. Marketing also needs to be consistent around your messaging, and it needs to be over different mediums. So think of it like a tap. It's something that you turn off. You've got the same water flowing out of it, but that water's flowing over multiple channels. So when you're communicating with your clients and your prospective clients, we'll get into that prospective clients in a little bit more detail in a minute. But when you're communicating with your clients and prospective clients, you need to make sure you're doing that over multi-channels. You can't do it over the one channel, because if it's, say, just via email, or if it's just via social media, you are minimizing the probability that that client or prospective client will get that message. So what you've also got to do when you're doing your marketing activities, you've got to do it along the same message, so that your targets are receiving the same information. If you're bombarding them with multiple messages on different legal solutions at different times, then the challenge that you're going to have is making sure that that message sticks. Because this day, with the amount of information that's out there, it's very difficult for people to take in everything. You just think about the emails that you get, the options that come up on Google, the amount of invitations you get to seminars, and it's almost endless. So what you've got to do is you've got to be really specific and really targeted. So with your tap, you've got to turn it on. You've got to focus on a consistent message, and you've got to make sure that it's run over several mediums. Let's just have a look at some of those mediums. So you might run it over a website, that messaging, Google, email, blog, social media, and so on. So what we've got there is just a list of those different mediums or some of those different mediums that you can communicate with your clients and prospective clients about. So remembering that what marketing is, it's the communication channel or channels by which you take your product to communicate to those people to drive inquiries around improving sales, improving your revenue. So if you've got one message, you might choose 3, 4, or 5 of these different medias across which you'll distribute that message, so that your target database, your target contacts may get that from a number of different places. If they get it 3 or 4 different times, it will further cement into their mind their need for that service. Or if they only are focused on one of those mediums at that point in time when it's sent, it might just grab their attention as well. So the greater the number of mediums, the greater you increase the probability. So just going back, turn it on, never turn it off, same message, different mediums. So as an accountant, for me, it all comes down to maths. And what you've got to do is you've got to focus on the actions that are going to produce predictable outcomes. And the number one activity that you need to drive in your practice to produce consistent growth in your revenue is a database. Nearly every firm that I go into has got an extremely ordinary, if non-existent database. So the database is the key tool that you need to have for a direct response marketing activities to work. So your direct response marketing activities are driven from this database. And that database needs to include the names, email addresses, sometimes phone numbers and addresses, depending on what your mechanisms are for marketing. But the key activity that I want you to take away from today is you need to build a database. That database must be focused on prospective clients, and it must be focused on your existing clients, because it's cheaper and easier to generate revenue from existing clients, but you also need to be growing your client base, so you need to be focusing on creating a database for prospective clients. Now that database in some firms might be direct to the end user, so direct to the client. It might be around increasing a database of your referral network. So if you're a type of firm that doesn't get much by way of leads direct from the public, but comes via existing clients and via referrals, then the bigger you create that database, the greater your message will be. It'll get out there into the world. So in terms of your databases, if you can just give us a little bit of an update then of what you've got in your database. So if you've got a database of clients only, you've got a database that includes clients and just some prospects. You might have got a business card for somebody who's not a client, so you've popped it in there. Or you've got a database that have got clients in a very wide prospect list. Just give us a little an overview there of what sort of database you've got. So thanks for that. So basically what we've got is we've got more than 50%, so those first two are basically your clients with some prospects. So the majority of databases, more than half of the databases or the people that are participating today, half of you have got mainly just clients in your database, with 14% don't even have a database. 25%, so a quarter, have got clients and a wide prospect list. So if you've got a wide prospect list, then you are most likely there. You're going to be the people that have been doing and focusing on direct response marketing activities in your firm. So well done. But those results aren't usual. You know, we focus heavily in our firms on implementing strategies that are focused on doing the work, but you've got to be focusing on these strategies for winning the work. So database creation is the key strategy for professional services firms in terms of driving their revenue from existing clients and from new clients. If you're not communicating directly with those people, then it's very difficult for them to know about you. If you're not in control of the messages that they receive, that you are giving them about your services and what you do, then you're not implementing strategies that are under your control. Remember the serenity prayer? It's about what you can control, not about what you can't control. So let's look at this from a numbers game perspective. So if we're talking about maths, the larger the numbers, the more probability you'll have of hitting your targets, provided that you're focusing on having the same message over multiple channels that has happened in a systemized and consistent way. So let's say you've got a 12-month inquiry target that you want to get 104 new inquiries from your marketing activities, which is 2 per week. So this doesn't mean that your other activities that are from a reactive place aren't happening as well. You know, will still be getting your referrals coming in, or referral from both referral partners or existing clients. What we're talking about here is developing a strategy that's built on numbers from specific direct response marketing activities. So you've got a target of 104. What you've mapped out is that you need to make a contact every 2 weeks with your database, so that you've got regular content and information that you are sending them, and different calls to action that you'll make during these marketing campaigns. You've worked out that you've got 5 different mediums that you're going to focus on. Let's say that's email. You're going to have email, say LinkedIn and social media. You've got a little bit of brand awareness that you're going to be doing via a local industry magazine. Some direct SEO activities to get people to go to your website, and some direct mail activities as well. So you've got 5 mediums you're going to be broadcasting these messages across in various ways, shapes and forms over the year, each 2 weeks. So what that means is you've got a number of contacts per inquiry of 130. So if you've got, for one inquiry, they're going to have a contact every 2 weeks over 5 mediums. So that gives you 130. So let's compare the likelihood of achieving your outcomes based on your database size, and to show you why your database is so important. So if we've got a database of 500 clients and prospects, and we've got an inquiry target of 104, that means that we've got to get an inquiry from 21% of everybody that's on our database. Whereas if we only wanted to get 104 inquiries from a database that's got 10,000 contacts in it, that's an inquiry rate of only 1%. So from a probability perspective, provided your communication strategies are right, your content is right, and your target and your market is very targeted, you are much more likely to get a probability of achieving 104 inquiries out of a 10,000 database size than you are out of 500. So across all of those databases, contacts, there's going to be the same content pieces, 26 different content pieces that you produce that you will use to drive your inquiries. Over 5 different mediums used. So on a 500 database size, that's 65,000 communications over that 12-month period. Where on a 10,000 database, that's 1.3 million communications. So the larger the database, the larger the number of mediums how you communicate, you vastly increase the probability of your inquiries coming into your firm. And you can see that by the inquiry to communication rate, that for on a 500 database size to get 104 inquiries, that's 0.16% you require of your communications to inquire for your services. Doesn't mean you actually make sales out of it, but you get inquiries. Whereas if you've got a 10,000 database and only wanting to achieve an inquiry rate of inquiries of 104, that's 0.01. So 1/100th of 1% of those total communications that you put out there produce a target inquiry number of 104. So your odds of achieving your outcomes are so much higher. But let's change those numbers around a little bit. Let's say that you improve your communication strategy and over time engage better with your target market, and so that you can increase your inquiry to communications rate from 1/100th of a percent to 2/100ths of a percent on a 10,000 database size. What that falls out is 208 inquiries. So it then becomes a game of maths. The more you focus on driving your database, making sure it's clean and right to the right market, and you provide meaningful quality information and educate that database around what you do and why you do it, then you can start achieving a predictable inflow of inquiries over time. So I hope that makes sense to everybody, because that's what marketing is. Marketing is having a product that you then communicate to your targets, clients and prospective clients, and you call them to action around making inquiry to buy from you. So when you implement your strategies, you've got to be focusing on your strategies that are done on a one-to-many basis. So what most people think about marketing is that they've got to go and do a lot of work themselves, and it takes a whole lot of time. And so when you develop your marketing activities using your different mediums, you've got to do it in a way that minimises the amount of time that you use to produce those inquiry rates. So if I wanted to talk to every single person that's registered and participated for this webinar today, that's going to mean that I've got to sit there and call up every single person, and hopefully that they'll take my call and we'll see what falls out of it. But instead, what I've used is a strategy of communicating invitations across our entire database, which of lawyers is at the moment about 20,000 across Australia. And in focusing on that, I'm using a one-to-many strategy. I'm having single communication strategies that are targeting and communicating with all of those people. We also post this on social media, which I use an application called Hootsuite, which sends it across Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. I don't really get much connection out of Facebook and Twitter, but it just use it for search engine optimization purposes. So you're having one strategy that's going broadcasting across that entire database that are connected. So that one-to-many strategy needs to be applied in everything you do. It's the only time you start having one-on-one conversations with your clients and prospective clients as a result of marketing is once an inquiry is made. So it's very important to focus on your strategies and actions that result in a one-to-many output. So increasing your database size, focusing on one-to-many so that you have got a minimal time input in terms of implementing your marketing strategies. When you then add to content to your database, you've then got the formula for professional services firms. And database plus content is the only solution where you can control the messaging and the information that your clients and prospective clients receive about your firm. So the more content you produce, the easier it is for clients to understand what you do. If you are not getting it out of your head and into a book or onto white papers or podcasts or presentations or videos or articles, if you are not getting if you're not getting what you do out of your head and into the heads of your clients and prospective clients, there is no way that they can understand, unless they are mind readers, what it is that you do for people. So the more content you produce, the easier it is for marketing people to communicate to your target market. So you've got to increase your database size and you've got to be prolific around content production so that you can easily drive inquiry rate. Just having a database and sending out random information to them that isn't in an organised, comprehensive and coordinated, systemised manner will not produce predictable outcomes in your revenue. You need to have a content production program for your firm so that you are regularly communicating it to your clients. I have a firm in Sydney that I caught up with a couple of weeks ago who had just started listening to some of our webinars, and it was great to catch up with them. And they brought the whole team into the boardroom for lunch, and I just while I was down there, I just ran through some ideas with them, and it was just great to see what they had taken from just one single webinar, where they've started putting together an industry-based database to start communicating with specific content strategies that they'll then be able to engage and call them to action on. And they're starting to focus on different ways that they'll be communicating with them and developing a content production program in their firms. So I can't emphasize enough, content production is the key to marketing. It allows your marketing people to have content or info that gets the message out there. So if you've got regular information going out to all of that database, and remembering there's a lead time for take up and engagement and inquiry, the more you keep doing that, the more you keep growing your database numbers and the more you keep growing your content, the easier it is for people to know what you do and buy from you. But what we focus on, or we tend to focus on, is doing the work, not winning the work. So I want to finish off today by just giving you a little bit of an insight into some of my marketing strategies, because the marketing strategy plans that I say to legal firms they need to implement are all based on what I've tried and tested and implemented myself over the years. So I know what works and I know what doesn't work. And I've seen it work countless times in legal firms and other professional services firms to produce real revenue growth. So what I'm going to show you is just a little bit of an insight. It's only a small piece of an insight into my marketing strategies, because the reason you're all here today is not by chance. The reason that you're all here listening to this webinar today is because of a specific, tailored and structured marketing plan that started growing about 3.5 years ago. And as I said, it takes a long time to start building momentum. But you've got to start off with these two basic elements, database and content. So in my firm, I have two marketing KPIs, and they simply are database size and webinar attendance. So working on that basis that I need to grow my database, and the more I grow my database, the wider the footprint. I'm a prolific content producer, so I've constantly got new content and new information being produced for legal firms and in development. Um, and so I work on increasing that footprint. I work on increasing the number of lawyers on my database across Australia and next year New Zealand, so that I'm communicating over the long term and producing information that is of value to them. And what I've been able to drive over time is when I see specific increases in my database, I see increases in webinar attendance and registrations. So my focus is on what do I need to do to drive, for my webinar strategy, to drive my webinar attendance. First of all, it's got to be good content. Secondly, it's got to be increasing that database size. So the database actions that I implement in my firm around database growth is we often buy lists, and you can buy and rent lists so that you can then engage with your target market to get them to buy into or opt into your marketing activities. You're able to build lists. So we actively have within our budget, our marketing budget each year, a cost allocation for building our lists. And it's totally designed around increasing our database numbers. And what we do is every contact that we have with any lawyer, that their name and their email address and data gets captured, so that we make sure we're constantly focusing on driving that. Currently, our legal database is 20,000. We used to have, when we started, and I started this 3.5 years ago, I had a legal firm database. I think it was about 20 or 30 lawyers that I just knew. I just went through a list of lawyers that I knew, put them on a database, and then started activities. So that's grown to 20,000. Our target legal database by the end of 2014 is 50,000 contacts. So we're going to continue to implement strategies that build upon themselves to increase that legal database. And that includes existing clients and also our prospective clients. So I know that the more I can increase producing content and communicating with that database, the more likely it is that I'm going to improve the probability of achieving revenue numbers. So that is critical to database. In terms of our webinar actions, so our specific multi-channeled approach for webinar is direct email. So we send out some direct email where we invite specific people at different times to participate in our webinars. Now, direct email is our regular strategy, but we also sometimes do that a little bit differently in terms of engaging our target market. We sometimes do legal journal advertising. That's just in Queensland at this point in time, but that'll be extending so that people have got a bit of brand awareness that we do advertising. We run a thing called the FWO Legal Membership. So if you haven't joined this, please do, because it's a free legal membership. You can join up via our website, but it just gives you a pre-registration, if you like, to all of these webinars. We use social media and use our website. So we've set a monthly webinar registration target of 500 up to 30th of June next year. So we want to make sure we're getting from our database, getting 500 people registered to each of our webinars that we run. So we specifically run those activities in our firm. So if you can see, what we're doing is we're not leaving it up to chance. There's a bunch of other activities that we do in terms of our marketing, but it's primarily built on the core foundation of production of content and having a database that you manage and that you then structure your activities with that database. Now, you might think to yourself, well, I don't have, how do I have time to do all of that? It's simply because I resource it. We have a part-time coordinator that runs all of our marketing activities. Tony works for us, I think it's 2 or 2.5 days a week, and she implements all of these activities. But because we're doing it on a one-to-many basis, it allows a very broad range or a wide footprint of those of our marketing reach. What we then do is we have specific strategies then when we call our clients to action. So we know everybody, we know who we're marketing to because it's on our database, so it's direct response. We can measure how many of you actually open up an email that you receive, how many of you actually click through to how many of you register. Every webinar we run, we get a report that's got all of your details that you have to put in when you actually sign up to participate in the webinar. So if we've got people that aren't on our database that have registered, we get them and capture that information from this activity to get it on there. And then as I said, we've got prolific content. So today I hope I've just given you an insight into what marketing is. Marketing is the key to driving your revenue, but you first must know what your product is and you must have a sales plan. You must know what it is you're trying to sell, and then what you do is you create direct response activities via having specific content that you're communicating to an ever-increasing group of people to produce inquiry. So what I'd like to do is offer to everybody that's attended today, just like I do at every one of our webinars, the first 15 to email me at matt@fwo.net.au. Will receive a free 45-minute one-on-one marketing strategy review and report, where what we'll do is we'll talk through the key components of what your marketing strategy needs to be within your firm and have a look at what you're currently doing and develop some simple action plans for you to go and implement. And then I'll just print that out in a simple report for you. So just email me, matt@fwo.net.au. The first 15 to email me today, we'll get those locked in. Those meetings won't be locked in until sort of towards the end of January, simply because of the holidays. But if you can email me today, then we can get those scheduled in. Also, as the lawyer's accountant, we provide annual accounting services to all of our legal firm clients. I've talked, which is a fixed price legal service, accounting service that incorporates unlimited telephone calls and emails and all of your compliance needs, payable over 12 monthly instalments. As I said, it's at a fixed price. Look into our FWA legal membership, just go online or register your interest for our FWA Growth Club, which is a program that we run over 12 months with groups of legal firms where we focus on developing and working on these strategies and actions in your practice around winning the work and also doing the work. And we implement all of the activities that are the core content of my book, The Revenue Revolution for Law Firms, which is available at financiallywellorganised.com. So once again, thank you very much for your participation. I've got in the webinar today, I've got a new growth club starting early in 2014. So just email me if you're interested in that. Take me up on my offer. If there's anything you want to just talk to me about, either give me a call or give me an email and I'll be in touch. But once again, I'd like to thank you all for your participation today and in my Grow Your Law Firm webinar series over the last 12 months. We've got some exciting things that we're doing in 2014 around new products and services that you'll be able to use for your for your clients and also within your practices with your team members. So watch this space. Have a safe and Merry Christmas and New Year, and we'll see you in 2014. Thank you.